Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. My name is Anupama. I'm the VP for Product Management here at Intera Systems. Intera Systems is a leading provider of media QC monitoring and analysis solutions. And in this webinar, we'll discuss the results of a survey that we did on the need for content QC and monitoring. What are some of the challenges with respect to root cause analysis and strategies for quality assurance. We'll also have this on-demand recording of this webinar. It will be available, and we'll also publish the survey results in a blog, and we'll make it available to you. It'll also be available on our website. I have with me Dan Rayburn. He's a streaming media expert. So yeah, Dan, glad to have you here.
Great, thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for attending. So let's talk a little bit from a high level of what we're going to cover today. We've got a really good topic here, but more importantly, we have some very unique data that we went out and collected in the market so that people on the webinar can hear what their peers in the industry think and what they're doing. And so we went out and we talked to decision makers from the OTT side of the house, service providers, broadcasters, those tied to the streaming industry. We had 155 people from different companies that responded to the survey. And I sent out the survey and collected all the data February of this year, so just last month. And what we asked them was how they think about the importance of really employing monitoring and QCing, video processing, key delivery points. So from a comprehensive standpoint, what are they doing in the video distribution chain when it comes to quality and efficiency? And as an industry, we talk a lot about quality. We talk a lot about QoE and QoS. And historically, that's always been thought of as the player and the playback of the video, as opposed to the entire ingestion to delivery, as we would call it, glass to glass. So that's really what we wanted to find out today, is what do some of your peers think? So let's just jump right into the first question that we asked them. We asked them if they think there's a strong correlation between content quality and customer retention and revenue. Obviously, better retention equals higher revenue. So we had, let's see here, we had 60%, just over 60% said that they strongly agreed, somewhat agreed, 38% that did agree. The main takeaway here is that everybody agrees to some level that quality is tied to customer retention and revenue, whether it's ingestion quality, transcoding, metadata management, playback, delivery. The entire process, if you have an issue in that chain, creates a problem with quality, and there is a definite negative effect on your business. That is something that is extremely clear. So let's jump into the discussion here. When it comes to this question, where we asked about video processing at different stages. So I found this pretty interesting that 21.3% talked about all content, almost 40% said only basic, 20% said it was manual, and we actually had almost 19% of those responded that said no, they're not monitoring their content at the video processing stages at all. So does that really surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to monitoring, there are large streaming providers and there are medium-sized companies out there, right? So it's kind of, really all over the place. But then going back to, what you said in the beginning about content quality and revenue, I just wanted to say a few things about it. I think that's absolutely true. There is no question about it that quality and revenue are linked. We come across numerous studies done on this. When we talk to our customers, or you talk to any OTT provider, they'll say that quality ranks very high on their list of priorities. We are actually seeing more and more people doing monitoring because customers' expectations are pretty high. They not only want the pictures to look great, but also want a great streaming experience, right? So, and there are so many industry forums out there dedicated to just, picture quality rankings by every OTT streamer. So, if there is a glitch in the delivery, or if there's, poor quality, then I guess thanks to social media, everybody gets to know. So it creates this negative impression about the streaming service, and affects the decision of the subscriber, whether to subscribe to their service or not. So in that sense, quality is definitely related to monetization.
And we hear everyone talk about quality, obviously, but how are they actually defining it? Right. How are you hearing customers define what quality is? Is it truly the entire glass to glass? Is it just the delivery component?
No, I think when customers talk about quality, it encompasses quite a few things. You want very good looking pictures, great sounding audio, and the entire delivery experience. So of course, on the device side, we've heard about the fact that when you click on a video, it should start without any interruptions, that viewing experience should be good and all that. So I think the quality does not just mean that you requested a video and it played without interruptions. It includes a whole bunch of other things. But for this discussion, I just want to take a quick moment also to just clarify what we mean by QC. So when we say QC, we're talking about verifying if video meets the delivery specs for where it's going to be played. So it's a file-based application. So for example, a simple QC system would look at like codecs and profiles and that are used to compress the video, chroma levels, video artifacts. And when we say monitoring, it's something that's done in real time and focuses more on the delivery side of things, which is basically user experience, or what is called quality of experience. So just wanted to clarify that. But looking, at this data, it seems like I think most companies out there are doing some sort of QC. QC has actually assumed even more importance now, because see, when you do QC, you can detect audio and video quality errors. You can even fix them. But beyond that, QC can also help you with this regulatory compliance and conformance to all the delivery specs that are established by streamers. So we have IMF, Netflix has its own delivery spec. Different countries have their own specs. So, right. So it's a very expensive and consuming time process to find out why content was rejected and why transcode failed. So another point is that nowadays we see, everyone's trying to offer the best video quality at lowest possible rate. And everyone's trying to push this limit on compression for bandwidth savings. There are new compression standards. But the thing is, even when you have better compression standards, you might not get the benefits of that quality and efficiency for all, for your entire bitrate ladder. The quality issues will always be there. So without this automated QC, really, there is no way to detect all these artifacts and determine all quality. So I think that's why we see this, surge in QC systems. And also OTT streaming, I think, has extended this definition of QC. So it's not just about actual video quality or even compliance, but it also includes all this content categorization, captioning, subtitling, all metadata management. So in OTT context, this QC and monitoring, it's all really an umbrella term that includes all these content quality and management related functions. And if you add to that all the increasing content volume, I think it's making QC even more relevant than before.
Yeah, it does include a lot. If we look here, it's just over 60%. So they're doing something, but some of it's basic. Some they're monitoring all content. So obviously a lot of room for growth there, without a doubt. So we also asked, the next slide here. And what are they doing as far as manifest validation to check compliance and quality? You mentioned all profiles and variants because there's so many. So is that important for high quality ABR delivery?
Yes, absolutely. I think, so we can see like about here, 70% agree that manifest validation is key. I think in streaming, this number should be even higher because preparing video for ABR it's quite an involved process, quite prone to errors. So because each video requires encoding in multiple profiles, you have these different resolutions. So the thing about manifest validation is that you can check out your entire bitrate ladder, look at all profiles, and if it's done at the origin server, one of the main delivery points for OTT, you can also check for download time. Some customers even do a full decode to check for the integrity and quality of that entire ABR quality, right? So it's one of the most important steps in ABR, and we see streamers actually rely on it completely to weed out all quality related problems that creep up as a result of transcode and packaging.
Yeah, not surprising. There's so many variants that they have to do. So we also asked them, are they able to perform, to your point, root cause analysis in real time? Obviously, being proactive versus reactive is a huge difference. So are they doing something in real time to really see what the problems are when it comes to poor audio video quality? And interesting here that 27.2% said no, they're not doing anything, and 37.4% only said in some cases. So there's a huge opportunity here for growth.
Right. I am not surprised at these numbers because I think industry overall has done an okay job of probing and monitoring and collecting performance data about the service quality. But efficient error correlation to solve the problem, it remains a bit of a challenge even now. Because oftentimes workflows are completely out of the control of service providers. You prepare your content and hand it off to a third party, which could be CDN or multi-CDN. And what I have seen is that when multiple groups or organizations are involved in content distribution, when problems happen, there is this diffusion of responsibility because no one entity is really responsible for delivering the content. And I think that is also one of the reasons why streaming companies proactively monitor video at earlier stages in the in the distribution, because earlier you catch the problems, the better it is.
It's a fair point. There's a lot of people obviously involved in the entire video stack, and it's not really one organization inside or one person responsible for video quality. It is end to end. I mean, we've used the term obviously garbage in, garbage out for a long period of time.
And I think to that point, I should also point out, if you go to the earlier slide, is that, I think tools providers should also do a better job of correlating errors in real time and provide more contextual information so that it helps in fixing these problems in as little time as possible. So, working with other complementary solutions in the ecosystem. So, for example, encoder manufacturers and companies that provide monitoring tools, companies that provide device level QA. I think we can all work together to provide a more holistic view of a media chain. That can go a long way. But of course, to bring it all together and be of real value, all parties have to come together and companies have to put methodologies in place and get all the relevant data. But it is happening. And but let's just say more can be done.
I think more can always be done, to your point. And we obviously need companies working together. And I think one of the most challenging pieces we have in the market right now is data. Obviously, since there's very few standards, everyone does something differently. So tying into that, we asked a question whether or not a single dashboard which shows data from various distribution points, origin server, CDN, edge networks. Would that really help, we asked, assure a consistent and better video quality? So let's see, we have 25% that said it's high value, 34% said it was desirable, 20% thought it would provide some benefits. So not surprising here, 80% said, yes, it's something they want, it's something they could use.
Yes. So close to, looks like 7 out of 10 here agree that monitoring at critical points is, it helps them track quality. And we have this data side by side because multi-point monitoring and a single dashboard view is closely linked. So when you're monitoring at multiple points, you have this centralized dashboard, and what is happening is a lot of workflows are moving to cloud platform. Video delivery network is getting centralized. So for example, now you have an AWS instance on the East Coast that's, let's say, serving a client request, and everything might be okay. But on the West Coast, the same request, there might be an outage, right, in the West Coast. So probing at different locations, depending on how your content is distributed, is very important to our clients. And this is especially true in live event scenarios. So when you're streaming your WARD content, for WARD files, you can have an automated or a manual system to verify the quality ahead of time and even fix the problems. But in this live environment where everything's happening on the fly, there is no room for checking, right? So, and if it's a premium live event, the exposure level is quite high. So if you can pull status from various demarcation points, you can know exactly what is happening where, find out where these weak links are and fix the problems.
Yeah, that's a good point. Live is obviously a completely different animal. Mm-hmm. You got one shot and one shot only to get it right. I think consumers also notice more problems with live than they do with on demand.
Yes.
So live is different. It's requires a different level of monitoring.
Very much so. You always have new encoding infrastructure which might not be properly tuned for different profiles. You can suddenly have major macro blocking, or CDN might not function well. So in live scenarios, I think we see customers wanting these multi-point monitoring with a single dashboard view.
Makes sense. So we also asked them, talking about just how they monitor and what's most important. We asked whether or not they agree that relying solely on monitoring at a device level is insufficient really to look at QoE. So we have just over 51% that agree or strongly agree. We've got 21.3% that are somewhat agree. So it sounds like they're not really sure one way or the other, but I was actually surprised that 27.1% of those we surveyed disagreed and think that they can just monitor at a device level only.
Device level monitoring typically includes viewing experience and other content consumption and audience engagement related stats. That is true even now, mostly. But for QoE measurement, right, the quality measurement, device level monitoring is mainly, I think, concerned with things like buffering, average bitrate, play time, etc. So in short, if you ask for a video, if it played properly or not, but it gives you very limited, no information about what was the actual audio and video quality as perceived by the user. So it gives you more streaming related analytics. So for example, let's say you have a high bitrate video that played with very poor picture quality. You observed major artifacts. But if the video was delivered without interruption, your device level QoE won't reflect that. Also, so if you had an audio video sync related problem or incorrect placement of subtitles, service provider would be completely oblivious to this problem if they relied only on device level QoE. So I think this is also why streaming providers have begun to put probes near the delivery servers to get a better.
We're seeing more of that for sure as of late.
And that is not to say that device level monitoring is not important. I think it's very important. And so server level monitoring and device level monitoring, I think these two systems complement each other. It's just that one looks at problems on the, regarding video quality and delivery, and the other is looking at the actual viewing experience and content consumption related stats.
Agree. They go hand in hand. So let's talk about just some of the key points of the survey here, because I wanted to get your take on what we're talking about as far as monitoring today. Is here's what's being done and here's what companies are thinking about. But as we think about all the streaming services that have launched, just in the last 2 years even, we had, by my count, there were 6 major services. Today's streaming services are starting to become an actual business, real revenue. We're seeing the type of revenue that some of these companies are doing. Yes, some are still losing money, but they're investing billions of dollars in some cases into their streaming service. And a good portion of that money is going not just for content, but it's going towards the entire end-to-end ecosystem. So what do you think it's going to take for more companies in the space to really look at a multi-point monitoring strategy, as opposed to just looking things, from a silo, like, okay, we're looking at transcoding, maybe we're looking at CDNs, we're looking at player, but what's it going to take for them to integrate that?
So firstly, streaming providers are definitely realizing that they need to, before a streaming service is provided, you need to check out everything that's happening at different points in the workflow. Quality is important. So what needs to be done is, they need to invest time and resources in figuring out where it makes most sense to monitor, what metrics to pay attention to, and monitor it consistently. And if you do that, I think you can solve a lot of QA related problems. So measure what you can, even if that data doesn't provide you immediate value. And the streaming infrastructure for different providers is really very different. Those models really are kind of changing. So some streaming providers are looking for monitoring that's agile, scalability is very important to them, and they want to customize monitoring based on the type of content they receive. So for example, stricter or more rigorous monitoring for premium sports content or 4K channels versus documentaries or news. And the multi-point monitoring is that actually it doesn't have to be like that for everybody. There are also streamers, they have done a very good job of understanding the content that they are providing. So they have standardized on the encoding ladder and do rigorous quality checks at content preparation time. So for those streamers, perhaps, monitoring everything everywhere all the time might not be very relevant. But most streamers do realize that at least you need to do it at content preparation stage, and then at the origin server, and then maybe a couple of other key points. Another thing we see is that those days are gone where you have these huge operations facilities and all videos are being watched all the time. There is more of this, we also see API driven monitoring, where you get all these relevant alerts and metrics from different tools providers and feed that data to a management system and then take actions based on data. But I think a great number of streaming projects are coming up. Activity has picked up quite a bit, as you mentioned. So I think that's a great sign. Thanks everyone for joining in, and also thanks to all the people in the industry who provided answers for the survey. And thanks, Dan, for helping us with this survey as well. Thank you, everyone.